Hello and welcome. I am Debbie Peterson of Getting to Clarity, and this is the way forward in your career. And I'm very excited to have a special guest today, Morag Barrett, and she is the author of Cultivate. So this is the power of winning relationships. And so many of us now aren't having that ability to meet with people face to face. So I'm excited to have her here today, and she's going to be talking about the 4 questions that she covers in her book. And then she'll get into the 3 steps that will help you get back to yes when it comes to cultivating these critical relationships for your career and your business. So Morag is a sought after speaker and leadership development expert. She's the author of Cultivate, the Power of Winning Relationships, and the Future-Proof Workplace. So Morag brings 30 years experience in industries around the globe and has impacted more than 11,000 leaders and managers in 20 countries and 4 continents. Holy cow. Morag understands the challenges of running a business and leading the people within that company. And she also knows how to foxtrot and is a keen ballroom dancer. So that is so cool. I'm so happy to have you here today, Morag. And I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thanks, Debbie. Though, as you can imagine, with us all working from home right now, the foxtrotting doesn't get much of a turn around the dance floor at the moment. I'll be looking forward to when we are allowed to get a little closer than 6 foot to our dancing partners. But I'm excited, and thank you very much for holding up a copy of Cultivate. You can see mine's got a little flag here. And the exciting news is that this week started with it coming out in paperback version. And I wrote Cultivate because, having spent 15 years in commercial finance in the UK, where business, when I started my career, was still being done on the golf course, and most of the bank managers were still Mr. So-and-so. Certainly business has changed. I remember being told it's not personal, it's just business. Well, I came to realize that business is personal and relationships matter. And so I wrote Cultivate to help provide a language and framework for identifying those critical stakeholders. Who are we dependent on for our success? And more importantly, the health of those working relationships, so that you know who are your allies, the people who have your back, not just on the good days, but on the tough, turbulent days or times that we're experiencing now.
And I would imagine, especially in those industries, you know, you talked about that the leaders were Mr. So-and-so, that in those male-dominated industries. So you coming up in financial services, and then women in emerging leader in other male-dominated fields, finding those people who can become sponsors, champions, advocates, mentors, allies, etc.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, this is it. It's applicable for everybody, because I think often we don't pay attention to our network. And I certainly know early in my career, I wasn't as attentive to nurturing those relationships appropriately. And this goes beyond playing politics. This is not what I'm getting at, but it's understanding, given my personal and professional goals, who are the critical few people who can help or hinder me in achieving those. And it's more about mutual success. How do we win together versus the politics silos and turf wars that certainly I've seen in my consulting career and throughout my corporate career, you know, where you've got sales fighting with operations, fighting with HR, fighting with finance, and all of that internal noise slows us down and stops us being able to respond quickly to the needs of our customers or the changing needs of the business landscape, whichever industry that we're in.
Okay, now you had mentioned 4 critical questions. So why don't we start there today? What are those questions and why are they so important?
Well, they are even more important today. So the 4 questions, when I was doing my research for the book, that we are asking ourselves consciously or subconsciously in every interaction are as follows. Number 1, can I count on you? Can I count on you to get your job done and get your stuff back to me so I can get my stuff done? All right. It's reactive. Question 2 is, can I depend on you? And that's proactive. Can I depend on you to go the extra mile, to give me warnings of impending disaster, to fix the error in my spreadsheet? And these 2 questions are transactional. And certainly early in my banking career, it's where most business relationships start and stop. You do your stuff, I do mine, and we'll be okay. but okay isn't enough. If we want to remain a thought leader in our industry, if we want to be leading edge, if we want to innovate, then you need to get yes to the next two questions. And those are, do I care about you? And do I trust you? And these aren't, do I care about you in a group hug, trustful sort of way? It's, do I care about your success as much as I do my own? Am I willing to lend you my rock star team member because it's the right thing for their career or the project? Am I willing to subjugate my goals, my project for yours because it's the right thing for the business? It's just the right thing to do. And if you think about those four questions, can I count on you? Can I depend on you, the transactional ones? Can I count on you? Do I care about you? And do I trust you? These are the transformational, the interpersonal relationship questions. And a few weeks ago, it may be easy to answer a yes or a probably to all of those questions. But think about where your team members, your colleagues, your peers, your bosses are right now. We're suddenly all working from home. Can I count on you to get the job done? Well, I don't even have a laptop or a home office, so maybe not. Can I depend on you to go the extra mile? Oh, well, my kids are fighting over the Legos, the dog is barking and needs to be walked. Hell no. And do I care about you? Well, I don't remember the last time we grabbed lunch or you just swung by just to see how I was doing. And now that we're remote and separated by a webcam, maybe, maybe not.
And especially with everything else that they have to dwell on, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Everybody is just up to here, keeping all the balls in the air.
Just keeping all the balls in the air, worrying about family, worrying about elderly relatives, whatever it might be. So what might have been 4 yeses a few weeks ago are now potentially at risk, and 4 no's at worst, especially if we aren't being extra diligent and thoughtful and proactive in reaching out and maintaining those connections and nurturing our community, whether it's at work or at home.
Okay. So wherefore, you know, a few weeks ago, they might have been all yeses, and yeses is the ideal place to be when cultivating those important relationships, and that may have changed as a result of where we are now. What are your strategies to get back to yes with those questions?
So first of all, it's a two-way thing. So you need to start with, who are those critical relationships? So personal and professional. Create the list, write them down, don't leave it to chance. And then reach out proactively. You know you have a list, they don't, and even if they do, who cares? Because all I care about is you bother to check in with me. So number one is write the list of who are those critical people, personally and professionally, who you care about and who care about you. And then secondly, is start reaching out, whether it's a text message, an email, a voicemail. It doesn't matter if you don't get me live, because every connection, when I pick up that voicemail, when I open my inbox in the morning and there's a message from you, Debbie, saying, hey, how was last week's, how did it go? My brain processes that as a human connection. It's not as good as live, but in the current circumstances, it goes a long way, because if you don't reach out, what am I going to do? I'm going to assume you don't care, that you don't trust me, that I can't depend on you, that, you know, I can't count on you. So we get to the no's by default. So number one, create your list. Number two is follow up. And number three is what I call the pulse check. It's just 3 questions that if you ask regularly, I guarantee you're going to be closer to a yes. And the 3 questions aren't rocket science. It's what's working? What's not, and what's one thing I can do to help you or help us to be more successful. So those would be my tips for how do we ensure that social distance doesn't result in social isolation, and that we continue to nurture that sense of team and community with those people who can help us in our personal lives and our professional lives.
And I would think that this would be occurring naturally for some people. But in thinking about advancing in your career or in your business, thinking about this in a way that is strategic probably is the wrong word, but you know, considering who are those professional relationships that you need to stay in touch with, and but also it maybe even inquiring about them personally without getting too invasive. Are you well? Is your family
Mhm.
safe and well? How
Yes.
are things going for you? Are you homeschooling your kids the same as I am? And I would think that you would find more touch points, more things that you have in common that can be the foundation of building an even greater relationship. So it actually becomes an opportunity when you reach out.
I love
Instead of
that.
thinking, oh, I'm sure they've got enough going on and they wouldn't want to hear from me. Um, really realizing who are the people that you would want to connect with personally and professionally.
Absolutely.
And I
We
love
have
that
to,
it's both.
yeah, and we have to get out of our own heads. If we're reaching out to be of service to others because we care, then it comes across as genuine and authentic. And that list may change. It was ironic, just before all of the pandemic exploded onto the landscape, I was contacted by a CIO who I'd worked with probably 2 or 3 years ago as part of a high performing team program that I'd developed for his company. And he was just embarking on a job search for a new role. And he reached out to me because it was, again, how could I help connect him to other leaders in other industries that might benefit from his talent? So staying in touch doesn't mean that you have to call everybody every day.
Mhm.
Maybe it's every week, or in this case, from that CIO, every couple of years. But it's knowing who's going to take your call and who would you be willing to take that call for and help move mountains or help give that candid feedback that sets them up for success.
Okay, so let's see. So the pulse check is what's working. So what's going
Mm-hmm.
right for you? What
Yeah.
is truly working for you?
Yeah.
What's not?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so what do you wish was a little bit different?
Yep.
And what is one thing? And I love that it's just, what is one thing that I can do? It's because oftentimes when we reach out to people and, hey, what can I do to help? And that can be kind of vague and ambiguous. So
Yeah, it's too
if you
much.
kind of narrow that parameter, what is one thing? Or depending on how well you know the person and their circumstances, would it be helpful if I did this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. And you think back to those 4 questions, when you can answer yes to can I count on you? Can I depend on you? Do I care about you? Do I trust you? You end up with what I describe in the book as an ally relationship. And so that's where you can have feedback, even the feedback that stings, because you know it's delivered in a way that's trying to help you to be more successful. So maybe you and I are colleagues, we're on a Zoom conference call, which is where most of us are spending our time right now. I might offline say to you, hey, Debbie, I'm trying to work on my executive presence. Could you give me feedback on how I'm coming across on the Zoom conference call? And so now, instead of what do I need to do to increase my executive presence, which is way too broad, I've narrowed the focus, but
Mhm.
I've also just built that trust and rapport because now you feel valued because I obviously value your input.
Right. Yeah. Terrific. So I wanted to kind of go in a little bit, dovetail off of something that you had
Mm-hmm.
said. A CIO had reached out to you and is making a change.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result of what we're going through today, I imagine that there are going to be changes for a lot of people. I would think that there are people who want to make a change, that this was on their mind prior to current circumstances. And I would think that there are people who are finding themselves as a result of this saying, hey, this is what was important to me a month ago, but you know what?
Mm-hmm.
It's not important to me anymore. I am shifting my priorities and I've realized that I really need to go in a different direction. And then I think, thirdly, that there are going to be people who are going to be forced to look
Mm-hmm.
for a
Yep.
new opportunity. So regardless of how that's coming about,
Yep.
I sense that is coming. And what do you suggest for people who find themselves in that situation as it relates to cultivating and building these relationships when you're looking for your next level or even your next chapter?
Yeah, so I agree. I think that whether it's you're choosing to jump and pivot or whether that's being forced upon you because of the circumstances, the key here is to take ownership. And it's baby steps. Relationships and new opportunities come one conversation at a time. So again, goes back to your list. Who do you know? Who on LinkedIn? Who have you worked in the past? may be able to either give you some feedback or introduce you to that opportunity and that next role. Because what I find is you're only ever one conversation from realizing those dreams, but you've got to choose to step in and have those conversations. So again, create your list. Reach out to people and be clear, hey, I want 15 minutes, 20 minutes of your time. Here's what's happening for me. I could do with your advice or guidance. And then allow them to schedule it at a time, recognizing that everybody is a little spun up right now. So it may be harder, it may take a little longer, but don't wait. I think give yourself ownership by having a call a day, if that's the baseline, one phone call a day, one LinkedIn message a day. And as you start to do that outreach, the flywheel will start to spin. And as people start to get used to the current interim new normal, whatever we're calling it, you'll start to see those calls and messages coming back. So set your target, start reaching out, start having those conversations. And that is how you can start to realize that next opportunity and chapter.
Yeah, I really believe that that the strategy of reaching out to people is twofold. Not only are you getting advice or guidance from someone, but the more people who know what you're about, and the more people know that this is kind of the direction that you're going, the more advocates you have. Because, and I'm sure you've experienced this before as well. A conversation will happen, and someone will say, I just talked to a girl last week.
Yeah.
I need to put the two of you together. And it's just, it's almost serendipitous, but I really don't believe it's a coincidence. I mean, things like that happen. So reaching out, and not reaching out with, hey, I need a job. But I would love your advice and guidance. I'm looking for my next chapter. And I would love your input. And that way it's not a burden on them. People love to help. They can share their expertise, right? Yes. And are usually happy to do that.
And being clear about your own value proposition. What are the skills that you bring to the table? What excites you? And if you're getting in touch with me, for example, and you want me to introduce you to somebody, make it easy for me. Let me know who you want to be introduced and why, but maybe write the 2 or 3 sentences that I can use as a basis to put into more ag words, but to affect that introduction versus it being a blank sheet of paper. Yeah. So have the conversations, because relationships are built and maintained one conversation at a time.
I love that. I love that. So, so as a summary and overview, 4 questions are: can I count on you, which is more reactive? Can I depend on you, which is more proactive? Do I care about you? Do I trust you? So, do I care about you and do I trust you? You may not be withholding, you may not be undermining someone, but are you withholding the help and what you can put into the relationship because you're preserving or protecting kind of your own, little fiefdom. So those are just fabulous questions. And then diving into how we flip those to yes, we've got, who are those critical relationships, no matter what your objective is, whether you are looking to advance, whether you're looking to move to a next chapter, but identifying those personal and professional relationships that you're going to reach out to, no matter the medium. And then actually reaching out to them via text, email, LinkedIn message, whatever the case may be, that you think would probably be the most well received by them. And then just doing a pulse check. So what's working, what's not, and then if you can make a suggestion about something that they can do, you can do for them, or ask what is one thing that I can do. Kind of showing that gratitude.
One thing I can do for you, or here's Debbie, here's where you can help me right now as I navigate this journey to my next opportunity. But if we don't ask, if we don't share our dreams, how can I help you to realize them? And sometimes we keep them secret because we think, well, we can't reveal it to the world. People will judge me. Well, right now, take ownership, one conversation at a time, because as I said at the beginning, business is personal, relationships matter. And as you highlighted, those opportunities, those conversations about who do we want to join our team? Do we know anybody with this skill set? I've lost track of the number of times where somebody will come to me and say, do you know somebody who's looking for X, Y, and Z? And I'll go, no. And then the following week, the universe presents that very person to me. So letting others know what we're trying to achieve, asking for help so that we don't have to take it all on ourselves, making the human and the people first approach, that's what matters, especially now in a time of social distancing.
Absolutely. So, Morg, besides the exciting news that Cultivate is coming
Oh,
out
yeah.
in paperback,
Paperback.
why don't you tell us what is next for you? Because you have some exciting things coming, and also how people can find you.
Yeah, so well, what's happening for us? We are a leadership and executive development firm. And as you said, shared at the beginning, we've supported clients from around the world. Well, right now we're up to our eyes in converting from a face-to-face delivery method to virtual. So absolutely loving it. I was always a bit of a skeptic, but I'm loving the energy and the creativity that's going into making them not death by webinar. So if you want something a little bit fun and feisty to build that sense of team, give me a call. And how do you find me? Well, you can find me at my company website, SkyeTeam, S-K-Y-E team.com. And you can email me, morag@SkyeTeam, and just get in touch. Find me on LinkedIn, and I would love to have a conversation and find out how you are building and maintaining your communities, professional and personal. And as I say, our big project is working on the ally mindset, which is the sequel to Cultivate. How do you show up as an ally? How can you give to help others to be successful, and in the same way achieve your own career goals and dreams?
Oh, well, I'll tell you, I can't wait to read the sequel. So,
Thank you.
Morg, thank you so much for being with us today. I truly appreciate you being here. So for now, I am Debbie Peterson of Getting to Clarity, and I work to advance women and emerging leaders to the next level or the next chapter of their career or business. If I can be of good service to you, you can find me at debbie@gettingtoclarity.com or www.gettingtoclarity.com. So until the next time, here is wishing you the clarity you deserve. I hope you all have a really great day. Bye for now.